Welcome to another OU Insider Under the Visor Sooners podcast. My name is Brandon Drum. I'm here with Parker Thune, and we are here to talk OU softball. They just beat Texas 8-3 in Game 1 of the Women's College World Series National Title. Game 2 is set for tomorrow, which will be Thursday. There's a lot of things going on Thursday, June 6th. Parker and I will divulge into that and why there is a lot of things going on. Number 2, we're going to talk official visits. There's 3 official visitors going on at Oklahoma this weekend, plus a lot of other visitors over the next 3 weeks that, let's just say, it is going to get muy caliente on the recruiting trail over the next 3 weeks across the landscape of college football. But before we do that, Parker, let us get to one of our favorite pieces and spots of the podcast. Let's pay some bills.
Yes, folks, this episode of the OU Insider Under the Visor podcast is brought to you by Manscaped. Now, fellas, blink if you haven't purchased a Father's Day gift yet. Yeah, I thought so. Today's episode is brought to you by Manscaped, the leaders in below-the-waist grooming. Whether it's for the boys downstairs, your beard, or even the best pair of underwear out there, Manscaped has your bases covered and all of Dad's bases covered for Father's Day. You can head over to manscaped.com and get 20% off and free shipping with code OU Insider. You know that beard trimmer that your dad's been using since you were in grade school? Yeah, it probably needs upgrading. Introducing the Beard Hedger Pro Kit, the complete beard maintenance kit for all of the bearded kings. This all-in-one kit comes with the Beard Hedger, Manscaped's most advanced beard trimmer, as well as shampoo, conditioner, oil, and balm for his beard. It also comes with a brush, comb, and scissors so he can style his beard and mustache like the true gentleman he is. This Father's Day is also the perfect time for your old man to stop stealing his wife's nail clippers and finally have a kit of his own that'll last him a lifetime. The Shears 3.0 is the 5-piece precision men's nail grooming kit that any father needs to stay on top of his self-care with professional-grade stainless steel tools, sized and styled for the task at hand. And the Boxers 2.0 were designed with a simple mission: to make the most comfortable boxers a man could buy. It starts with a jewel pouch, a dedicated space that cradles your stones in place with a perforated performance fabric for extra breathability. Now, again, 20% off free shipping with the code OU Insider at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com when you use code OU Insider, whether you're buying for yourself or for Dad this Father's Day.
Okay. Thank you, Manscaped, for sponsoring once again. All right, let's talk some women's softball right off the cuff, because that is probably the most pertinent part of this whole bit right now as far as OU athletics goes. What they did to Texas today, obviously winning 8-3, and even the game versus Florida, it to me, this just goes back to been there, done that.
Yeah.
You're never going to get phased by the moment. The moment is never too big for these girls. And you could tell right off the cuff that it was for like, I even told my wife, like, instantly from the start of the game, my boys went, we bought 3 tickets for my father, for my dad to take the boys for his Father's Day gift, to go take both our boys to the game tonight. And so they were at the game, and Amy and I were here watching it. And I just saw the Texas picture, and I was like, she looks rattled. Freshman, 15,000 people bearing down on her, most of them in crimson. And it is loud there. And the first 3 batters was like hit by pitch, dinger, double. And at that point, you just kind of realized
That's the kind of night it's going to be.
Yeah, OU was going to win that ball game at that point. Yeah, like if OU starts like that, that's a wrap.
Yeah,
we've seen that time and time again over the last decade.
they're not blowing leads.
They're not blowing. Yeah, they don't blow leads. So they'll make a comeback, and they definitely showed that yesterday versus Florida. I was at the OU camp, the youth camp, with my kids, and I just happened to be standing down there, and Coach Venables came down and he stood next to me for a minute, and we were just kind of chatting it up for a bit. And I had the game on, so he stopped to like look and watch it. And I didn't at that point. It was 5-2, and I was like, I don't think they're winning. He goes, you have little faith. He goes, everybody's always too far, too down, and one high, one low. There's never nobody's ever even Brent Venables' philosophy started coming out right there, and he was being all philosophical. And then he walks up to me after the camp and he goes, "Hey, ye little faith, they won," and patted me on the back and walked away. So, I mean, give it up to the girls. Their mama is never too big for them, and man, they're fun to watch. Man, those seniors, them not being here, Parker, after this year is just gonna suck not to be able to watch them anymore because you have to appreciate greatness, right?
Oh man, I don't know if there's ever been a more fun softball player to watch than Jada Coleman, man. Like
Yeah,
that.
her and Kinsey Hansen are up there. Tiara Jennings is up there too. Like she's a blast at the plate.
Yeah, and there's so many studs in that senior class.
Yeah.
So many that you're gonna miss. But I mean, even if you want to be technical, and I don't even know if you really think of her as a core member, if you will, of this senior class, because she's only been around a year, but Kelly Maxwell is on a different planet right now.
Yeah.
I mean, and we all knew that her addition was going to be so crucial for this program as they made a push for 4 straight. But where is Oklahoma softball right now? Sans Kelly Maxwell. You remove Kelly Maxwell from the equation. Are they sniffing this championship series right now?
No, they're probably out of the first round of the first 2 rounds of the College World Series. That would be my bet.
And not on, you want to talk about everything that she did to help the Sooners get here. That in alone, that in and of itself stands alone. Like that's impressive enough. What she's done in Oklahoma City so
Mm-hmm.
far, especially this latest feat, going back to back complete games in the span of 36 hours to pitch the Sooners into the championship series and then to stake them to a 1-0 lead. She's on another level right now.
Mm-hmm.
She is, I tweeted it out earlier. She is October 2014 Madison Bumgarner right now. She is untouchable. And honestly, Brandon, I if she's up for it physically, why not pitch her again tomorrow night at this point?
And maybe like I actually am with you because if she's gonna have a 24 hour, I guess what, 20-hour rest, I guess. Um, and that's not uncommon. Florida's pitcher, freshman pitched 3 games in a row, right? And she did really well against Oklahoma until she got up like in the 130s in pitches. And I think I think if you can get Kelly Maxwell to come in and pitch you a good 4 innings, and Oklahoma can be hot to start and have like a 2 or 3 run lead when you pull her and you bring Nicole May in to just shut that thing down, and then you bring Dill in to really shut it down at the end. I think that's the way to go. Or you start Nicole May and let her go 2 or 3 innings, bring Maxwell in, let her grow 2 or 3 innings, then bring Dill in. Yeah, I think that's probably what Patty Gassos is one of those two is how she's probably gonna roll tomorrow. Like she's going to pitch all 3 because she's gonna make sure that one, Texas is off balance, 2, that you don't waste Maxwell's arm completely or May's arm completely, because you can't do that going into the game 3. And Dill has been essentially your closer, throughout the whole postseason, majority of the season. So I think you've got that. To me, that's the way to go. I don't know about you, but I think that's the way to go. I think you've got to pitch all 3 of your best pitchers. That way you don't wear their arm down just in case, and then hope that the bats come through.
After tonight, look, I think the best case scenario, like the best course of action, is whatever Patty Gasso decides, because
Yeah, that's fair.
every single switch that Patty Gasso has flipped to this point has paid off in spades. And I I was a little bit surprised. I'll be honest. I was a little bit surprised when Kelly Maxwell started for the second straight day. I didn't really feel like that was a route you needed to go right off the
I
bat.
did.
If whoever you started in game one started if they get into trouble, then okay, you always got Maxwell you can go to out of the pen. And then, you turn her loose in game two against this Texas team. I didn't feel like Oklahoma really needed to start Kelly Maxwell tonight, but there was never any question from the minute that those two teams hit the field that the Longhorns weren't putting any bats on Kelly Maxwell's pitches tonight. And
And they
so,
haven't throughout the season, right? Like I think they faced her 5 times essentially this year. And how many runs did they have total? What is it, like 5 or 4? Something to that extent, right? Like, um, against her, not total. I know that you're gonna make me on too, bro. Dang you.
it's late.
Eh, it's late. Yep. I know that I want to say that they beat OU 2-1. And what was the other one they beat OU? It wasn't by very much. The times that OU won, I think OU won 2-1 as well, and then they won 6-1, and then they won 8-3. So really, I think it's the funny thing to me, and I was thinking about this before we started podcasting, was everybody's making a big deal about how good Texas has been throughout the postseason. But dang it, you're so mad at you, Parker, for this. Dang it. All right, sorry, it is very late, guys. Everybody's mad about how the or saying about how good Texas has been throughout the postseason. They have been. They've, I mean, giving up any runs, right? Like they've been just stone cold defensively and pitching. But both times they played OU in the Big 12 title and in this, OU has won by grand total of 14-4. That's dominance. You can say, oh, well, they were splitting. No. If you add the total points scored in the 4 times they played this season, Oklahoma blows them out of the water like, without even tonight's game. So that to me tells you that I think everybody was wanting Texas to be it, but they just weren't.
But I think
Like
so many.
up to no, I mean they're good. I'm not saying that they're not going to win it.
Yeah,
I'm just saying that they just weren't they weren't that much better than Oklahoma. Does that make sense?
exactly. So many people right now want it to be anybody but Oklahoma.
Yeah.
And I get
Yeah.
it, right? Like it's natural that fatigue factor would come into play when a team is seemingly hoisting the trophy every single year, or in Oklahoma's case, not seemingly, they are hoisting the trophy every single year. It's about to be
Mm-hmm.
4 in a row if they can finish it off tomorrow night or Friday night. But man, it's so fun to watch this group play. Like even if you do have Oklahoma fatigue, which again, completely understand, you got to acknowledge, man, it is so fun to watch this group play softball
Yeah.
because they do it with such enthusiasm, such fervor. It's hard, and I say this, and I know there are people that do dislike them. I feel like they're a very hard team to dislike. Oklahoma might be it might be an easy brand. It might be an easy school to dislike, but that group of girls, that's a very hard group of girls to dislike
Mm-hmm.
as I see it.
Yeah, no, they are. And everybody gets mad about, oh, well, they over celebrate when they do the walks.
Yeah, but
They're having fun. They're having fun.
well, and that's weird to me because it's not like, correct me if I'm wrong, Brandon. I've never seen any member of this OU softball team show up the opposition. That's not what it's about.
No.
They're not throwing it
No,
in the opposition's faces.
no, they're going back
They're
to
just
their
getting
they're
excited
back to
with
their
each other
dugout.
and for each
Yeah.
other. So yeah, I
That's absolutely. Yeah. And then the whole like instantly, yeah, I went and perused the Texas Rivals board during that. I
as
wanted to
one
go
does.
as one does. I had to. I had to go see. Do one be played Oklahoma? One been playing Oklahoma City? Like, stop. Just stop. Just stop. How many times have you all played at home in a bowl game? The Alamo Bowl. How many times has Texas played in the Alamo Bowl? And it's literally an hour from the Texas campus. Like, please, with the bull crap. How many times have you guys played in Houston? How many times have you played in Dallas? Right down the road. Who cares? Beat Oklahoma and you don't have to worry about it. Nobody has to worry about Nebraska or Creighton or whoever in baseball. They're good because they're good. They're good because they have the most talent in college, because Patty Gasso, on a consensus basis, gets the number one recruit in the country. That normally turns into winning. You have 4 number one players in the country. You have 4 top 2 or 3 pitchers in the country every year added. That's 8 players that are top 10 in the nation on one team. You're probably going to win a lot of ball games, Parker. It's the same in football, right? Alabama, all the 5 stars. Are they not the team that's won most of the national titles recently? Georgia has been beating everybody in recruiting lately. Are they not the team that's been the most dominant program in college football recently? Talent, Jimmy's and Joe's beat X's and O's all day, brother. Or Jeans and Janes in this situation.
Well done.
Thank you.
Well done. Nice little transposition there.
There you go. Thank you. All right. Let's talk recruiting.
Yeah, I was about to say you put in a pick for a top 100
Who, me?
player in the 2026 class today.
I feel good about
This is not just a top 100 player, Brandon. This is a top 100 player nationally that happens to play the most important position on the field.
Yeah. Yeah. Jaden O'Neill, 2026, 4-star top. I will venture to bet that he will be a top 40 player, top 30 player in the country when it's all said and done.
Brandon,
pushing 5-star.
But Brandon, don't you already have a pick in for Darion Coleman?
I do. Interesting you asked that. First come, first serve to an extent. Here's the thing. Darion Coleman tried to commit. He tells everybody, I tried to commit. Oh, you told me, hold up, they got to see me in camp. Now what has been, I guess, communicated to all 3 of the quarterbacks, and we're talking 4-star Jonas Williams, we're talking 4-star Darion Coleman, 4-star Jaden O'Neill, all 2026 quarterbacks, all top 250 kids in the country, fantastic players. What's been communicated to them is that they all 3 have to show up in camp, and a decision will be made after the camp. So I believe the 18th is Jonas Williams. The 13th is Jaden O'Neill, and the 6th, which would be tomorrow, is Darion Coleman. So Darion Coleman's on campus. We broke that story. We did a note on that on OU Insider that he would be on it. He tweeted. We did that a couple of days ago. He tweeted yesterday finally that he was going to be on campus from the 5th to the 7th. So he's already on campus. Number 2, Jaden O'Neill. And my pick. So Steve Wiltfong, credits where credit's due. Steve Wiltfong was the first one to put a pick in. I talked to some people around there and around Jaden O'Neill. I talked to him for a good 40 minutes tonight as well. And I talked to some people around Oklahoma. And what I have been able to surmise was that the expectation is that Oklahoma leads for all 3 right now. That's first world recruiting problems, number 1. The issue is going to be the only one that will not have an issue with 2 quarterbacks is going to be Darion Coleman. So as of today, if it is Jaden O'Neill that ends up being Oklahoma's commitment down the line, they're not going to take 2 quarterbacks. They just aren't. So I would venture to guess the same for Jonas Williams. And I think the decision's been kind of made here in the last 48, 72 hours that Darion Coleman would probably be the only one as well. So it went from, they're going to try to take 2 to, I don't think they're going to try to shake the apple cart and do that now. They're just going to take what they get and move on, because their quarterback room is really good as it is. And they're going to, I think they're going to do a good job of spreading it out. The hope is that they're not going to have to play Michael Hawkins 4 games or 5 games this year. They'll be able to play him in 4. and they'll be able to hold a red shirt. That way, there's a separation between him and Jackson. You can do the same with Kevin Sperry, right? And you can do the same with whoever's in 26. And now you've got multiple seasons in between them, right? You got it's like an every other year type deal where you can
Mhm.
start for 2 seasons. Boom, 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 boom. And in a perfect world, that's the way you want it set up. So now, if Michael Hawkins goes out and beats Jackson Arnold out, well, that's just the way it played out. But that's even better for Kevin Sperry coming in. You don't have to play because you got obviously one of the two would probably transfer at that point, and then Kevin Sperry would come in, and you have Zerbrug, and then following that you would have whoever in 26. So, but Jaden O'Neal is very tall, very not very tall. He's tall, he's strong, he's athletic, very mobile quarterback, but he's still more of a prototypical guy. He's not your small gunslinger like a Darian Coleman.
Darian Coleman is a very modern quarterback.
Very modern quarterback. And I was talking to somebody around Jaden O'Neal, and he completely agreed with me. What makes Darian Coleman is he's got a violent wrist, which means the ball just pops out of his hand, just boom, boom, and it's pretty when it happens. But he's also small in stature, which isn't a big deal nowadays. Quarterbacks, I mean, Bryce Young just went number one, right?
Mm.
Kyler Murray went number one. Baker Mayfield went number one. And as thick as Caleb Williams is, he's only like 6'2". So like he's not the biggest guy in the world. He's thick. He's not the tallest. He's not your 6'4"
No, I
quarterback.
think I think Caleb measured maybe a quarter inch north of 6 foot at the combine, if I recall correctly.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I would look that up because I thought he was closer to 6'2".
Yeah, no, he was not 6'2", that's for sure.
No, I don't think he is. I don't think he was measured that. I just think he was closer. I thought it was like 6'1" and like a quarter, an eighth, or a half, or something like that. I don't know. Um, look at fact check that please while I'm talking real quick.
I am fact checking it as we speak.
Thank you.
At the
And so,
combine, he
okay,
measured 6'1". He was 6'1".
okay, that's what I thought. All right. So, but he's thick. He's not the tallest. So, I just I like where Oklahoma stands, and even people around Jaden O'Neal and Jaden himself, he's very transparent about his affinity for Oklahoma. Like he's taken photos of a neck pillow and it travel neck
Mhm.
pillow into OU. He travels with an OU backpack. So like this isn't like some crazy pick that I put in. And then when you talk to people around Oklahoma, like, yeah, they feel very, very good about where they stand with him. But they feel very good about all three. So it's gonna be kind of up to Brent Venables at the end of the day. Which one does he like, along with Seth Luttrell? They're gonna get together and they're gonna talk, and then a decision will be made on which one they're gonna go with. And I love that, by the way, because it creates competition and it kind of sets the tone for how it's going to be when you get to Oklahoma. Like this is the type of program you're coming into is competition Latin program. If you want to come to Oklahoma, be better than the other two quarterbacks that we're recruiting.
Yep.
And if you can do that, you can come here and compete. I love it. I love it. I think that's great. And everybody had like questions about Seth Luttrell and recruiting, and here he is with a dominant 25 class, and it's just getting better in 26 from the looks of it. Almost
Yeah.
like
Well, I
he
mean,
may be a pretty good coach.
yeah, I mean, Levy left him in good hands. I'll say that with
Yeah, he
Michael
did.
Hawkins and Kevin Sperry already lined up. 26 was really Seth Luttrell's first real litmus test.
Well, I've been talking about
And
other positions too, though.
he's certainly like he's going to pass that test with flying
Yes.
colors because
Yes.
if not both Darian Coleman and Jaden O'Neal, Oklahoma is going to get either Darian Coleman or Jaden O'Neal at this point.
Well, don't
And
don't throw away Jonas Williams.
well, it's just
He was brought up even by people around Jaden O'Neal as the other guy that they are well aware that loves OU.
but it's become very apparent that
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Darian's all in on Oklahoma.
I was
Jaden O'Neal's all in on Oklahoma. Like it's just
Jonas is quiet, more quiet. Yeah.
Yeah, there's just not space for Jonas. Like you can't
Mm-mm.
take all three. Can you? Maybe. No, you can't.
No, you
There's
can't.
no way. There's no way. I think I can probably count on one hand the amount of recruiting
Jaden
classes
O'Neal
I've
will not be
ever
in a class
seen.
with more than one quarterback, and that quarterback will be him and him alone. I know that for a fact. That's straight from his people. So wherever
It's
he
gonna be a
goes, he will be
tough
the quarterback.
conversation with Darion Coleman if that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough. But how about the other big news of the day? And obviously, VIPs at OUinsider.com knew it was coming. They were prepared for it. But Cole Breer is a tree.
I mean, I know you're wanting me to comment on what I told you through a source earlier, but
Not necessarily.
I think the word shock would be is apropos for this. Fits perfectly because nobody saw that coming. Before he went to Stanford, he had relayed to OU, I am going to be a Sooner
Yep.
at the Champion Barbecue.
Yep.
And I will say this, speaking to somebody in Norman, what I was told was, I'll give you all this quote. Lesson was learned, and it was if you lead, no need to have them at the biggest event. Just get them on campus as quickly as you possibly can in the official visit and get them locked in and done. Don't try to hit a home run
Yeah.
and lay out the red carpet and do all that. Just get them back on campus
Well,
and get it over with.
and
And
I
that
will
was the
say
lesson learned.
this. This is this is the way that Stanford approaches it every single year because Stanford is one of the most prestigious universities in the country. And that's not exclusive to athletics, right? If we're just talking about the complete university experience, there are very few universities across the country that have the prestige that Stanford does. And
Mm-hmm.
so if you're Stanford, especially if you have very rigorous academic standards that all of your prospective student athletes have to meet, and so you're already kind of dealing with a limited pool that you can recruit from as it is, you ideally would like to get those guys on campus, be their first OV, and convince them then and there that they don't need to see anything else.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, basically, Brandon, when it comes down to it, that's really the only shot you have to land a guy like a Cole Breer, for instance, that has Oklahoma and Ohio State and is comprising the rest of his top three, right? The only shot you really have with that kid is to convince him, hey, no, this is the place for you. You don't need to bother going to check out those other places. You need to commit to the Stanford Cardinal. Um,
But there was people on our board saying, "Well, OU moved on." That was like they just like Ohio State. OU. No,
yeah, no, they no,
no, they
no,
didn't. No,
no,
they
there was
didn't.
no
They
moving it.
were.
Like,
They feel really good about Floyd McCard though.
well,
Like
that's good because
surprisingly good, and Christian Evans. I'm
at
just
this
gonna.
point, the Boucard recruitment just takes on even more
It
importance on the
does.
Oklahoma side. Uh, with Breer though, man, I did have a good long conversation this morning with an OU parent, and this particular parent has a son that obviously wound up committing and signing to Oklahoma, but heavily considered Stanford out of high school. And what this parent relayed to me was, hey, you know what? Stanford with Breer, because it was we were talking about this specific situation, the Breer situation. That parent said, I could see that because it's exactly what Stanford does when they get you on the OV is they're selling not primarily to you, but to the parents. Because obviously, Brandon, in general, not in every single case, but in general, parents are going to care about academics more than the kid, right? The
Yeah.
kid's going to go somewhere like it's about football to the kid more than it is academics. But parents are going to push academics, right? Because they see more than 4 years into the future and they want you to be set up for life. And there's no right or wrong there. It's not like uh it's not a true binary. There's nuance there as to what is best for each individual student athlete. But Stanford's going to get you on campus. They're going to sell your parents. And what was interesting to hear was uh this parent said the last night of the official visit, They have everybody get together for basically this giant mixer, this big event. And every time a kid commits, they stop whatever's going on at the mixer and announce it. Oh, so and so has committed to Stanford, make a big deal out of it. And there's a lot of pomp and circumstance, and that creates, or ideally creates, uh, what becomes a domino effect for the
Mhm.
kids as they look at, oh, he committed. Wait, he committed too. Maybe I need to commit. Should I commit? Do I need to lock in my spot at Stanford? This prestigious institution? Do I just need to shut it down and be done? And so there does become a peer pressure factor that comes into play at a certain point for these kids as they're navigating that official visit experience. And especially, right, if you already have the parents sold, if you've already got the parents on board with Stanford, generally, if a kid's got questions about whether or not he needs to commit right now, who's the first counselor he's going to seek out, especially if they're there with him, right? He's going to
Right.
consult his parents. And if the parents are like, yeah, why not commit to Stanford? Then that's going to push the kid over the top. And
Yeah.
so, from that standpoint, I think Stanford has a calculus that works, and we've seen it work in the past, right? We've seen Stanford make a splash like this, like Breer. And obviously, in the past, it wasn't guys that OU was involved with, so you were maybe less attentive to it if you're an OU fan. But certainly with Breer, now you're aware. There's a heightened sense of awareness, and I think with the thought that Andrew Babalola is a Stanford lean and at this point in the process, even before he's taken an official visit to Stanford, there is an increasing realization that okay, like Stanford's got some stuff to recruit to, and they've found a pretty effective way to recruit to it.
Okay. So I'm gonna play devil's advocate here, and they were what, 2-10 last year, something to
I
that
don't
extent.
recall what the record was. It was Troy Taylor's first year as head coach.
Yeah, and
Obviously,
he's
he
not
was
going to stick around very much longer because there's a chance he may be gone before the season's over. Like,
they were
dude,
3-9 a year ago.
okay,
3-9. But
and they
again,
were they were over in I believe they were over in conference, correct?
yeah. But again, like at this
So
point, any kid that picks Stanford
I
in
don't care about
general, not
winning.
yeah, you will. If you pick Stanford, it's not all about football. Like that is not a purely
True.
football decision.
So
And so yeah,
Venables, there's zero chance. This is just my opinion, folks. This is nothing I've been told, and I guarantee you, Parker, you'll agree with this. If it's not about football, and you don't care about winning enough that you're going to go to Stanford and commit before you even give Oklahoma a try, you were essentially dead to Brent Venables if I know Brent Venables well enough.
and that's what's crazy about this too. And look, we get a few of these curveballs every single year. This is the nature of the recruiting world, right? It, if you're sold on Stanford, great. But what's astonishing is you get a few of these kids every single year that commit after their first OV when they've got big official visits lined up
Mm-hmm.
down the road. And for a kid like that to commit to Stanford and not even give Oklahoma and Ohio State a chance to change his mind, it there's a reason why there's such a shock factor there when it
Yeah.
happens. It's not only because, oh, he picked Stanford, like, okay, if he gets to the end of the process and he decides Stanford is the best fit for him academically and athletically, you can swallow that. But the fact that the decision comes before OU and Ohio State even have their shot with the kid, especially when, like you said, he had told so many people in the Switzer Center that I'm a Sooner, like, let's do this. I'm on board. And here we are today. And he's headed to Palo Alto.
So that leads us to let's do the camp real quick before we get into the official visitors. So the camp, we obviously got Darian Coleman coming in.
Yep.
There's this camp tomorrow will be big. I don't have I don't have like all the list of names just
I have
quite
a
yet.
list of the notable ones.
Okay.
So
But so the one I do want to talk about from Oklahoma, Stillwater, Oklahoma, Nehemiah Cologne. Okay. So obviously Charlie Johnson, the offensive line coach at Stillwater, is a good friend of mine. Our kids play 7-on-7 together. He's the coach of our Sooner 7 team. And I was talking to him today, and he brought up the fact that Nehemiah was going to Oklahoma for a camp. Well, let me read you Nehemiah's background, Parker. First, his film is phenomenal, by the way. Let me read you his background. And this is what I was told. He's a really great kid and a great player. He just turned 16, so he's really young. His dad played college ball. His mom threw discus in college, and he had an uncle who bounced around the league for a couple of years. He has a little sister that will probably be a Division I softball recruit as well, so genetics are there. He said that he's been coaching there since 2016, and he may be one of the more talented kids that he's ever seen come through Stillwater. And that's saying something because Stillwater's had some dudes come through there in the last 8 years.
That they have.
And so the fact that, and Cologne's got, I think he has like 6 offers already, like Oklahoma State, K-State. You have to look them up, man. But there's several like P5 offers. I know Houston, I think, was one of them. But he's a kid that is about 6'4", 250 right now, 240-ish. Defensive end. He has a good frame, maybe able to be that hybrid guy that can slide inside and out, like kind of like a Nigel Smith is going to be when he gets done filling out and growing into his body at OU. I will not be shocked if he walks away with an offer tomorrow at Oklahoma. Will not be shocked.
What class did you say he is?
26. And everybody's going to instantly go, okay, if he's getting an offer, why isn't Colton Yarborough got one? I don't really have an answer for you. So
well, Colton Yarborough needs to have a better junior season than he did.
Correct.
But
I'm not going down that route. So I'll let you say that. But yeah, he needs to play. He needs to be a defensive end and a 4-man front. So, which it sounds like is what Durant's doing.
That is what Durant's going to do, and hopefully that is conducive to better production from him, because I think that for the few elite schools that haven't offered him, obviously including Oklahoma, I think that's the holdup. Is there's not a lot that pops on that sophomore tape, and a lot of it likely has to do with the scheme that he was working in down there. But
is Mason Young going to be there tomorrow?
You mean Mason James?
Mason James. I meant Mason James. Yeah.
Mason James, to my knowledge, is not going to be there.
Okay.
Some of the kids that will be there include, but are not limited to, Quincy Shelton, 2026 wide receiver from Hugo, Oklahoma. I think he will get an offer tomorrow. That is my prediction. Okay. I think Quincy Shelton walks away with an offer from Oklahoma.
I love Quincy Shelton.
Trenton Yancey, 2027 wide receiver, who, as a 27, mind you, is good enough that he has an invite to the Rivals 5-star in Jacksonville. There are 100 prospects in the nation, regardless of class, that are going to be there. So you would expect.
I'm excited. That makes me excited.
Yeah, you would expect, and it is certainly the case, that the majority of those 100 are going to be 2025s. However, there are a few 2026s and a select few 2027s that are going to be down there. And Trenton Yancey is one of the few. There are folks down in the DFW area, folks who, if I were to tell you who their names are, you'd be like, okay, like their opinion carries weight. They think he's the next Micah Hudson. They think that's how good Trenton Yancey is going to be. And the offer list speaks for itself. He's already got the OU offer. He's taken the trip to get the opportunity to work with Emmett Jones and just strut his stuff in front of Oklahoma. Obviously, Darion Coleman, we mentioned him. Kevin Sperry, we know he's going to be doing all the camps as he did last year. Zephyr, the other quarterback from Geyer, 2027 kid, and he's a good one.
Yes.
Good one.
And they got a 28 kid. Denton Geyer has 2 28 kids. One of them being obviously Rozzy Sperry. And Rozzy is just, from what I've been told, he did it at the Rivals camp. His body, he's finally starting to kind of come into his own physically, which is, he's going to be a name that everybody's going to remember because he's a Sperry, but he is going to be a name to watch moving forward. He has a chance to be really special.
A few more names for you. Zachary Turner 4-star tight end from
Mhm.
Duncanville High School. He's a good one. He's already got an OU offer. So anytime you see a guy with an OU offer that's coming from out of state to camp, you're like, okay, that one's worth filing away, because that in itself demonstrates a lot of interest in the University of
But
Oklahoma when you have
you
nothing to
say
prove and you show up to camp anyway.
you say Duncanville, and everybody just kind of rolls their eyes because Duncanville and Oklahoma really have never been outside
No, they
of
really haven't. You got
Savion
Savion Bird,
Bird.
and that
That's
didn't
it.
last.
Yep.
Um, I'll throw a couple more at you. Toa Katoa, Trinity Eulis,
Mm-hmm.
2026 3-star offensive guard. Really, really blowing up lately. He's
Mm-hmm.
been reeling in big time offers. Texas A&M, Oregon within the last few weeks. Uh, OU thinks he has the potential to be a truly elite offensive guard, and they are in a good spot with him. So that's one to watch. As is Felix Ojo,
Awesome.
Lake Ridge High School down in Texas. He's a 3-star right now. Won't be for long.
Nope.
I think he's sitting at 25 offers, with Texas on Saturday being the 25th. He likes OU a lot, loves what Bill Biedenbow can offer in the way of development. And again, he'll be there for camp. Cody Taylor, Greenwood High School in Arkansas, another 3-star
Mm-hmm.
in the 2026 class. Not an offer guy right now, but one that OU has been watching for a while. And another one that they're watching, class of 2027 from Hayes High School in Kansas. Sound familiar? Offensive guard Gus Corsair.
There you
So
go.
there's a few.
Yep. And I'm sure there'll be more that just kind of that we don't know about that will be there, which is always the case, right? There's always I think every OU camp since Venables has arrived has at least had 20 kids that you're like, oh dang, like from all across the country. And as this summer or the camp season continues to roll along, Saturday in particular, I think is going to be big, just because it's Saturday, right? Uh, this it just always ends up being better than what the previous staff put together. Like their camps just never really like they had some dudes, but there were guys where you're just like, like why did you invite that cat? You know what I mean? I will say this. Remember Jordan Johnson Rubel as a sophomore got that offer as Riley's last camp. And you remember how high he was on Oklahoma at the time before the coaching change took place. I I don't know why that's always struck up in my head, but it always has. Just but you're gonna have these kids that show up that isn't even on our radar. It's not even on the coach's radar. And next thing you know, they're walking out with an offer. And we've seen that
Yeah, we have.
multiple times.
Ryan Foje last year.
Correct. So, and now he's turned into freaking superstar. So, I just, I think if you're going to be on OU Insider, this is probably the time to do it
Definitely.
because you're going to have the official visits and you're going to have the camps. And we're going to have note after note after note after note after note after note all the time, flowing, flowing, flowing. And then we got Rivals 5-star. So this is the time to do it. $9.95 a month. $99.95 will get you the whole year. So this is the time to do it, especially with the official visits, the camps, the 5-star camp, Rivals 5-star camp, and then rolling right after that within a matter of 2 weeks, SEC media days in Dallas. Like it's just, and then right after that, 2 weeks after that, guess what? Party in the Palace. Week after that, fall camp. So like this is the time to do it. It is going to be a blast. I can't wait. And then July 1st, SEC Day, right? I don't even know what they're doing. Do you
It's
know
going to be
like
a
everything
party.
they're doing? Yeah, the party part. And I know ESPN's going to be in town. They're going to, I guess it's going to be a lot like a fan zone type experience, right? Is that kind of what you're gathering?
Yeah, I guess.
Like I don't, I'm not quite understanding the whole focus around it because it's in Norman, Oklahoma City, and Tulsa. Do you understand the whole?
No,
idea.
I need to go read the press release
Me
again.
too.
It's been low down on the
I'm
priority
gonna be
list.
on vacation, so like I'll be gone to North Carolina for that part. So I just kind of went, oh, this is cool, and just kind of went on. I had people at the youth camp walking up asking me that yesterday. Like, what all's going on with the SEC day, man? Like, tell us about it. And I'm like, sounds like it's just going to be a big fan zone with ESPN going on. And that was just kind of my general synopsis to everybody that asked me the question. So yeah, we might need to read up on that a little bit. The official visits this weekend, Parker. So you got Petchak, defensive end out of South Dakota, or
North Dakota.
North Dakota. I always
Fargo,
get that.
North Dakota.
Fargo, North Dakota. Fargo is a great show, by the way. And then you'll have Desan Brame, 4-star tight end, and then obviously Darius Afalava, 4-star offensive lineman, will be in town this weekend. So Oklahoma might go 2 for 3.
They're not going 3 for 3.
They are not going 3 for 3. Desan Brame in Oklahoma. Let me just put it to you. Like, I hope that Parker and I are wrong for y'all's sake. I really do.
And you know
But
what? And you know what? You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
and
So
that's why they're taking it.
they're gonna take the shot, but it's not happening.
That was,
It's not
a
happening
quote
with
that was
some.
given to me whenever I asked. I was like, he's Oregon. Why y'all even bring anything? He's like, you miss every swing that you don't take, Drum. Fair enough.
Yep.
Fair enough.
So they'll take their swing. What was interesting in touching base with a few sources on Cade Petchak, who obviously you cannot get anything straight from the horse's mouth because he does not talk to the outside world. And I've
If
tried.
that's not a freaking Miguel Chavis recruit, I don't know what is, man.
That's what I'm saying, man. Like that's perfect for OU. Just a dude who's all ball. Wyatt Gilmore was kind of the same way. You could
Yeah.
get a hold of Wyatt if you needed to, but it might take a few days.
He came on our show too. He was good.
He
Good
did.
about that.
Yeah. Yeah. But he was a little bit more quiet than the average recruit. Cade Petchak is the most inaccessible recruit I've ever covered. I've had to source everything secondhand, which fortunately I've been able to get some pretty good stuff on the kid. And I thought it was interesting that he as of right now, to the best of everyone's knowledge, including folks that cover those schools, he does not have official visits booked right now to Kansas State or Nebraska. He was at Wisconsin this past week. He is at Oklahoma this weekend, obviously. That feels like the top two right now. That is the consensus among everybody I've talked to, is that it's Wisconsin or Oklahoma or Petchak. And again, if you followed our reporting on OUinsider.com, it's safe to assume that OU has the inside track, even heading into this official visit, and that gap may widen. This might be ultimately, this might be what does or what seals the deal for Oklahoma and Cade Petchak this weekend. If this official visit goes according to plan, they may pick up his commitment. And obviously, he's not the type of kid that's going to drag it out. You may get an announcement by this time next week if everything stays on script. Afalava is the other interesting case. I would lean Oklahoma right now. I think Oklahoma's in a good spot with Darius Afalava, but he has been very adamant throughout the whole process. He's taken all 6 of his official visits. He is at Utah right now. He is on Utah's campus for his OV. I don't think Utah is much of a player. And as we've said before, OU doesn't really they're not really worried about Utah. They're not worried about UCLA. Utah. They're not really worried about LSU or Washington, which those are his last 2 OVs, LSU and Washington. The schools they're worried about are UCLA and Michigan State.
Mm-hmm.
And there's adequate reason circumstantially to be wary of those 2 schools. Absolutely. So we'll see. I'm probably not in a place where I'm going to be willing to throw a prediction down, even if this official visit weekend does go really well for Darius Afalava at Oklahoma, because You do have UCLA and Michigan State that are kind of constantly looming in the background, and you just don't know what the decision from he and his family is going to be at the end of the day. But if you made me pick right now, I'd pick Oklahoma for Lava. And based on the way that his first trip to campus went at the spring game and how eye-opening it was for him, there is reason for confidence heading into this OB weekend with that kid.
Nice. I kind of agree with you. I know Oklahoma feels fairly confident in Lava, but it's kind of I guess a controlled confidence. Like they're not like too giddy about it, not over the moon about where they stand, but they feel like they're going to put themselves in position to be more than just a hat at the table come decision time in their mind. So we'll see. Everything's got to line up though officially on the official visit. If it doesn't, the funny thing is like and we've seen this before, Parker, where it the staff and or the university football program felt like the official visit went amazing. Then you talk to the people around the kid or the kid itself, and they're like, "Yeah, it was all right." So like the vibes have to line up, and in some circumstances, NIL has to line up. In a lot of circumstances, on that same note, I was talking to somebody just yesterday about offensive tackle recruiting, right? And they're in on all these like big names. And they literally said there will be 0 teams that get 2 of those top 100 tackles. Just not going to happen. I kind of agree with that because whoever ends up with Fasusi, Lamont Rogers, um, obviously Ty Haywood, and then Andrew Babalola, you're going to have to throw a pretty penny at them NIL wise to get it.
Yeah.
And so are you going to be willing to throw out the amount of money needed to do so to get 2 and be willing to miss out on somebody else that could help your team elsewhere in a position of need to land 2? That'd be great.
Well, and here's the deal. Babalola to Stanford, if that happens, that screws up the calculus immensely.
Oh, yes. The
Because
price goes up.
that was the guy, Brandon. I should
Missouri.
say that is the guy that we all kind of figured, okay, that's the one that Missouri gets.
Mm-hmm.
He's a Tiger. Well, if he's not a Tiger, I'm just going to shoot it straight. Somebody is.
Yeah.
They're going to get somebody. They're going to pay for somebody.
And it's going to be either Fasusi or Rogers. Those are the 2 left. So, because Ty Haywood, it feels like it's Bama, Oklahoma for him, right? And A&M's there, but I don't buy that they're. I just don't buy that they're up there with Oklahoma and Alabama. But that's my read. Maybe I'm wrong.
Final pitches are going
Yeah,
to be
but it obviously can change. Like we've seen it work in Oklahoma's favor with the final pitches when people are like, "There's no way he's going to go to Oklahoma and take a visit, but he's not going to commit," and then the kid ends up committing before he walks off campus. So, I mean, those final pitches can work with you and they can work against you. It all depends on how things lay out. So at the youth camp yesterday, I got to lay eyes on a bunch of new freshmen. And I'm here to tell you that Jaden Jackson is freaking huge. Parker, that dude is every bit of 305 right now, at least. You'll probably get to see him tomorrow. David Stone is every bit of 300 right now. David Stone, his little brother, was there at the youth camp, so he was around a lot. He rode around on a scooter everywhere. He was like literally out in the middle of the OU field, like they're like trying to do these little Sooner games, and he's like figure eighting in between everybody. It was kind of funny, and the coaches just kind of look at him like, "Dude, get the hell off the field." So, just his own little world. So, and then I got to see Dominic Williams. There was like a big film crew everywhere he went. He was like riding on like this clear thing, and that dude has very little fat on his body. He is a large human being, though. A large human being. And talking to somebody well versed when it comes to the Sooners defense. And I quote, the fat has been shaved off of the defense. There isn't a lot of excess fat left. And they're not talking about physical fat on a player, Parker. They're talking about talent. They're talking about ability. They're talking about understanding of the defense, the scheme, being able to execute. And so if I'm an Oklahoma fan and I hear somebody that is around it every day say something like that, your ears kind of perk up a little bit. Like, oh, really? Like, and they feel they're SEC ready. They feel they're SEC ready defensively. They do. That I agree defensively. Offensively, still want to see what the offensive line. I don't have a worry about the offensive line because I saw a couple of those guys too. Saw Bronson Hickman. He's bigger than I thought he was, by the way. Um, I saw Eddie Pierre Louis. He is a fantastic looking dude. He's not as big as I thought he was going to be.
He's not. I guess you expect him to be
Yeah,
taller
you expect him
when you
like
see him in
tall, but he's
person.
not.
Yeah, he's like
He's
6'3".
he's maybe like an inch and a half taller than you and me.
Yeah.
Like I was almost looking him square in the eye, which I thought was so it surprised me, but at the same time, he just looks the part. Like, and it's not like he doesn't carry bad weight. I think that was kind of the key. Nigel Smith looked really good.
Nigel
Nigel,
Smith has always looked good, man.
yeah, but I mean, like he looked light on the defensive line during the spring. He looks like he's added a good 10, 12 pounds. And so Taylor Tatum looked really good. Gabe Sawchuk, Parker, there were so many people that asked me who he was. Like, who is that dude? He looks like a freak. And I kept having to tell him that's little Sawchuk. And they're like, goodness, he's bigger than his brother.
Yeah, he's way
Well,
bigger.
he's really not. Gavin Sawchuk's over 200 pounds right now. I was standing right next to him and I talked to his family and him yesterday. He is over 200 pounds. Gavin Sawchuk looks really good. But Gabe Sawchuk is just naturally big, bigger built, more, he's just thicker than his brother. Andy Bass he's still like 4 months from being ready.
Mm-hmm.
He looks great. Looks great. And Danny Okoye, he pulled his hammy working out. So, while we were all watching him, he like strained his hamstring. So like they cut the camp half the field in the morning to let the players, the defensive guys, run their sprints. And he like strained his hamstring. So he's like walking around with like a big ice thing. But Danny Okoye is probably 250 pounds right now. And he does not look like a freshman, Parker, defensive end.
He's never looked like
I
a freshman.
understand that, but like you'll see tomorrow. You'll see what I'm talking about. Like
Danny Quay is one of those kids that he's like he's never looked his age. You know,
no.
like he looks like he could if you ran into Danny Okoye on the street, if we ran into Danny Okoye on the street and you didn't know any better, and I told you that dude plays in the NFL, you'd believe it.
What if I told you that Billy Bowman's bigger than he was when we last saw him? Did that surprise you?
No, not really. Billy's
Gosh,
just kind of steadily gotten bigger
yeah,
over the
he
years.
is.
Like he's just, you can always tell there's a noticeable difference in how he looks physically
Yeah,
every
he looks
single
like
time
muscle
you see him.
hamster, bro.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly,
he
man. Like
does.
he adds a lot more muscle every single offseason.
It's
That's the way it's
crazy.
been from the jump.
It was crazy. Powers looked great. Malaska looked really good. I did not recognize Malaska.
Really.
No, he looks good.
I think that kid's gonna do something at OU,
I do
man.
too, and I think a lot of people think agree with that. Actually, so um, I just thought like you can tell that and I say all this because you know how we looked like that 22 team just didn't look like an OU team, right? Like physically did not look, but steadily with recruiting and Jerry Schmidt, it not only looks like it looks better than any OU team that we've had, like as far as covering in years, Parker. Like I I told a person yesterday, I said, when I was talking about me and you, and I said, we've been around for a while, and this is the best looking crew I've seen in Norman in a long time physically. So it's they're doing a good job. Now they got to do it on the field. They got to do it on the field. All right, man. I think that's it.
Yeah. Let's go get some sleep.
Agreed. All right, that's going to do it for this version of the OU Insider Under the Visor Streamers podcast. Again, subscribe to this YouTube channel, please. We got softball, basketball, baseball recruiting, tons of videos, tons of updates coming right here on this channel daily. Daily. If you like Oklahoma sports, athletics, college athletics, this and recruiting, this is a place for you. Right here, OU Insider YouTube channel. All right. If you're not a member of OU Insider VIP, $9.95 a month. Again, this is the time to do it. Like we said earlier in the podcast, official
Prime time.
visits, camp, unofficial visits, um, SEC media days, the SEC day, obviously the party in the palace, the champion barbecue, the fall camp, the season. Right now is where it's at, man. Like this is going to be the heydays of all heydays. This is peak time to be on OU Insider. So sign up right now. $9.95 a month, $99.95 will get you in with thousands and thousands and thousands of OU members, OU fans that are all over there right now, commenting, reading, starting threads, doing all that on OU Insider VIP. All right, that's going to do it. For Parker Thune, my name is Brandon Drum. You guys have a blessed night.